I should have listened to my instincts and stayed on the trail. But no, I had to be adventurous and take the shortcut through the woods. Now, I'm lost, and darkness is quickly approaching. As I wander deeper into the forest, my heart begins to race. I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. Every snap of a twig or a rustle of leaves sends a jolt of fear through me. I try to reassure myself that it's just an animal, but the sense of unease won't leave me. I glance at my phone, hoping to use the GPS to navigate my way out, but to my horror, there's no signal. I'm completely cut off from the outside world. I try to retrace my steps, but the trees seem to be moving, shifting around me like a living, breathing thing. It's as if the forest itself is trying to keep me trapped within its embrace. And then I hear it. A voice, barely more than a whisper. Lost. You are lost. I freeze in place, my heart pounding in my chest. I look around frantically, trying to locate the source of the voice, but there's no one there. Just the trees, swaying in the breeze. I force myself to keep moving, hoping to distance myself from the voice. But it's no use. The voice is everywhere, following me wherever I go. As darkness falls, the forest becomes even eerier. Shadows stretch out like fingers, grasping at me as I stumble through the underbrush. Every noise seems amplified, from the hoot of an owl to the skittering of tiny creatures in the underbrush. And then I see it. A figure, emerging from the shadows. Its eyes burn like hot coals, its skin a sickly shade of gray. I try to run, but my feet won't obey me. I'm frozen, trapped in its gaze. The spirit closes in, its hands reaching out to grab me. I try to scream, but no sound escapes my throat. I'm trapped, alone, and helpless in the heart of the forest. But just as suddenly as it appeared, the spirit is gone. I'm left standing there, shaking and gasping for breath. I stumble forward, my legs were weak and unsteady. Somehow I find my way out of the woods and back to civilization. Days later, I'm still haunted by the memory of that night. I try to convince myself that it was just my imagination, that there's a logical explanation for everything that happened. But I can't shake the feeling that something is still waiting for me. Every time I close my eyes, I see the spirit's face, its eyes burning into mine. I know that I'll never be able to forget that night, and I'll never be able to escape the feeling that something is still out there, watching me, waiting for its chance to strike again. I spend my days looking over my shoulder, wondering when the spirit will come for me again. Every noise makes me jump. Every shadow sends a shiver down my spine. I know that I'm not safe, that the forest is still out there, waiting to claim me once and for all. And then one night, as I'm lying in bed, I hear it. The voice, calling out to me from the darkness. Lost. You are lost. I bolt upright, my heart racing. The voice is louder now, clearer. I can hear it coming from outside my window. I try to ignore it, to convince myself that it's just a trick of my mind. But the voice persists, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. I know that I can't ignore it any longer. Trembling with fear, I make my way to the window and peer outside. At first, I see nothing but the darkness of the night. But then, as my eyes adjust, I spot a figure standing just beyond the edge of my property. It's the spirit. I'm sure of it. It's come for me, just like I always feared. For a moment, I freeze, unable to move. But then, something inside me snaps. I refuse to be a victim, to be hunted by some malevolent spirit. I'm not going to let it win. With a sense of grim determination, I grab a flashlight and a baseball bat and head outside. The night air is cold and still. The only sound is the crunch of leaves beneath my feet. I approach the figure, holding the flashlight aloft. As I get closer, I can see that it's not the spirit at all. It's just a man, dressed in tattered clothes, and looking lost and confused. For a moment, I'm relieved. But then, a sense of unease washes over me. What is a man doing out here in the middle of the night? And how did he get onto my property without me noticing? I raise the baseball bat, ready to defend myself if necessary. "Who are you?" I demand. The man stares blankly at me as if he doesn't understand the question. I take a step closer, the beam of the flashlight illuminating his face. And then, to my horror, I see that his eyes are milky white, devoid of any color or life. I stumble backward, my heart pounding. This isn't a man at all. It's something else entirely. And then, as if in response to my thoughts, the figure begins to change. Its limbs elongate, its skin darkening until it's nothing more than a shadowy form. I turn and run, my heart in my throat. Behind me, I can hear the figure giving chase, its footsteps pounding on the ground. I make it back to my house, slamming the door shut behind me. I can hear the figure outside, clawing at the wood and howling in frustration. I know that I'm not safe, not even in my own home. But I also know that I can't give up. I have to keep fighting, no matter what. And so, with a deep breath, I steel myself for the fight to come. I grip the baseball bat tightly, ready to defend myself against whatever horrors may come my way. All of a sudden, the voices stopped, and there was nothing odd about anything. I went around to check, but didn't see anything or any signs of the spirit again. I thought that a miracle happened, and now I'm safe from it. Months had passed since I had last seen anything strange, but the memories of that terrifying incident were still etched into my mind. Every night, I would toss and turn, plagued by nightmares of the spirit that had haunted me before. One particular night, I went to bed like any other night, but soon found myself caught up in another nightmare. The spirit was there again, taunting me with its presence. But then, something strange happened. I woke up suddenly, my heart pounding in my chest. I was drenched in sweat, and the room felt colder than it had been before. As I lay there, still panting, a leaf fluttered down from above and landed on my chest. Confused and disoriented, I sat up and looked around, only to find that I was no longer in my bedroom. Instead, I was in the middle of a dense, dark forest. Panic set in as I tried to move, but found that my limbs were completely paralyzed. I was trapped, unable to do anything but look around in horror as the spirit approached me once again. It stalked closer and closer, its form becoming more and more tangible with each passing moment. I tried to scream, to move, to do anything to escape, but my body refused to obey me. The spirit reached the corner of my bed, its gaze fixed on me with an unearthly intensity. And then, with a blood-curdling scream, it lunged at me, its inhuman form blurring as it moved. Everything went dark, and I was consumed by a sense of overwhelming dread. I knew that I was in grave danger, and that the spirit would not stop until it had claimed me as its own. But even in the face of such terror, a small glimmer of hope remained. Deep within me, I knew that I had to keep fighting, to never give up, no matter what horrors might come my way. And so I waited, my heart pounding with fear, as the spirit closed in for the kill. But even as it reached out to claim me, I summoned every last ounce of strength within me and fought back with everything I had. But as soon as it jumped at me, everything turned dark.